Hello and a great big welcome to Cabin Fever Crochet with me, Helene, for today's tutorial of my latest pattern in the Coconut Grove shawl inspired by and worked in Caron's new Coconut Cakes yarn. A really fun shawl to make and wear for the adventurous beginner and seasoned crocheter alike. I also give you two really easy border options that create a great placement for optional fringe in both. There's a time-stamped reference guide you can refer back to at any time, along with my written pattern already available in my Etsy shop, both in the drop-down description section below. Metric conversions are included in both the written pattern and this free tutorial here. This can be multi-seasonal depending on the yarn you used, and if you're going for the beekeeper look, well, there you go. I really like how this worked up in a lighter weight yarn that you can wrap it around in the kerchief style type scarf, keep your neck warm, give yourself a cowl in case you're in between seasons, early spring like it is now, where the weather can change from day to day or minute to minute like it does sometimes here. And today, where it was just all over the place, we had sun, wind, rain, snow, rinse and repeat. I figure style it however you like it. Hey, why not? And now let's get on with the tutorial. Okay, starting with supplies, you will need 2 hook sizes, one for the main body of your work. I'd say start with what's recommended on the ball band, and you can go up or down accordingly, and then go up 1 hook size, and that is for the border only, and that will be for either border option. Okay, just to give you an idea for amount, that's going to depend on the type and thickness of yarn you're using, your height and body shape and size, and whether you want to make a full-size shawl, a shawlette, or somewhere in between. But for a frame of reference, I am 5 feet 6 inches tall. I have broad shoulders. I normally wear about a size XL in my tops. I do like them to fit a little bit loosely with extra breathing room. And I went ahead and I bought these 2 cakes. I liked them so much. I thought it would be fun, putting in a little bit of color in between to break up this yarn because there's a lot going on. It's pretty busy, but you don't have to. You can work this all in one color if you like. Solid, self-striping, whether they're long or short color changes, doesn't matter, and pretty much any yarn weight and type, although I recommend that if you want this really light and airy going into the warmer months, then go with a lighter weight number 4, such as the Caron coconut cakes, or thinner, and you can go all the way down to lace weight if you are into that. And this big shawl measures 60 inches wide, 5 feet wide, okay, by 28 inches high. And these are 8-ounce cakes. I use not quite the whole ball of the Hawaiian punch, and 1.95 ounces left out of those 8 ounces, and this is a 227 gram cake, okay, 481 yards. So I just used a little, have a little under 2 ounces left of that. And then I have pretty close to the whole thing. Only used 1.95 ounces out of the 8 ounces left. So I have a little bit over 6 ounces left of the lemon lime, which I'll just save for something else. And I really enjoyed working with this. It came out a lot softer than I thought, worked up, had a lot of fun with it. But again, you can use whatever yarn that you choose. And the sample, as you saw, worked in the Premier DK colors, my favorite acrylic DK. That is the self-striping. This is the color Cloudy, or excuse me, Foggy. Last time I looked, these are still being made. And they also have some really pretty batik, or at least they did. All right, and again, you can work this either in the scallop with the shell edges, or you can have just a more plain straight edge, which I think that works really well with this shawl too. Now this shawl has a 5-row setup with a 6-row repeat, but don't be daunted by that because it's really easy, and you are repeating like 3 rows out of the 6 that are same, and then 2 out of the 6 that are same, and there's only 1 that's different. So we're going to be working filet crochet rows with these boxes, 3 of those, 2 sets of shell rows, and 1 of all double crochet. So if you can double crochet and chain, you can work this, and I will take you step by step as with all of my tutorials and my written patterns. And oh, you know, I want to tell you, I knew that this reminded me of something, and I pulled out some Comfy Cotton Blend by Lion Brand, 50/50 cotton polyester. And it is very similar, but without these little bits, short pieces like fringe and loops that give it that kind of fun, like rag garment look. Like reminds me of a cotton rag sweater. Even though this is classified as a number 4, it's a light number 4 in my opinion. And the Comfy Cotton says it's a number 3, but you can see how close they are, not only in appearance, but in weight. So if you have some of this hanging around, that would be great. And these are 7-ounce cakes. You get 392 yards in this. So, you know, I would say probably 2, unless you're a really petite person in height and body shape. So today I am going to work in my stash yarn bead, Hobby Lobby Sugar Wheel, 100% cotton and Zest Wishes, 5 ounces, 335 yards. 2 is all I have, so I'm going to make this as far as I can go with that, which I think that will give a nice size shawl for a variety of sizes. And, you know, if you make it on the smaller side, then it could be a shawlette. Doesn't necessarily have to be full size. As far as supplies also, either a row counter if you have one, or just pen, paper, something to keep track, and 1 to 4 stitch markers. 1 to mark the center point of your work, and if you're newer to crochet, need a little extra help. 2, 1 for each side, and the 4th to mark the right side of your work. I prefer the magic circle method for this shawl. It really gives such a nice clean edge along the top, and smooth without that lump of where you chain up 4. But you can certainly do that if you want to, you know, where you make your slip knot however you like, and chain 4, slip stitch to your beginning chain to form a ring, and before I connect, I keep my thumb to keep that circle open so it doesn't get lost. And then everyone's going to do the same, stitch next, and then you work your stitches into this little ring instead of the magic circle. So you get all this extra yarn around it. That's up to you, just personal preference. Okay, so magic circle, how I make mine, I take the tail end on my palm facing me, take my long working end, wrap it around my 2 fingers, cross over top of the tail end to form an X, and that makes a circle. So I go up under the circle, which is my tail end. Okay, grab that outside, that working yarn, bring it through, and creates a loop. I have to pinch those together to keep it together, and then I'll just bring my yarn down, and you can just cinch in, draw in that ring a little bit to where it's more manageable, but don't over tighten. Row 1 begins. Every one we're going to chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet here and throughout. Make sure you make those stitches full size and height of regular stitches so they don't get smushed down. Alright, so that counts as your first double crochet, and now we are going to put 8 regular double crochets into the ring, okay? It's 8 double crochets plus your beginning chain 3 as your first is a total of 9 double crochets. And close that loop, but I wouldn't cinch it down all the way because that can tend to over tighten those beginning stitches. I wait until at least my second and sometimes even third row. All right, so that is the right side of your work. And now for row 2, the second of our 5 setup rows, we're going to chain 4 this time to work the filet crochet row with the boxes. So the chain 3 is a double crochet plus a chain 1 and turn, and double crochet in that same beginning double crochet. Chain 1, skip the next double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next double crochet, and that brings you up to your 5th stitch, your 5th double crochet, counting the first, chain 3 as your first double, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this marks the center point. Okay, this is where we are going to do an increase working a double V-stitch. Okay, you've already chained 1, skip the next, and in the center work a double crochet, and now it's a chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and in the center double crochet of the 3 you just made, place a stitch marker, and your stitch marker will be moved up with each consecutive row, and the stitch might be a little different as we change up our rows, but it will always be the one that's in the center. And now to mirror the right side along the left side, going to chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next, and in the last, which is your chain 3. So in the third chain up, which also known as the top of your turning chain 3, you're going to insert your hook into the front and back loop of that chain and work a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Okay, and that completes row 2. Now for row 3, back on the right side of the work. Okay, so the odd number rows are the right side, even numbered rows are the wrong side. Okay, and now this is going to be a shell row. Chain 3, that is your increase stitch, and into the first chain space, your chain 1, work 5 double crochets all into that first chain 1 space. 3 and 5. Okay, skip the next chain space, and in the next work 3 double crochets. We're going to skip the next chain space, that's the chain 2, the first chain 2 to the right of center, and because we're going to be working chain 1s along the side and chain 2s in the center, I'm just going to call them chain spaces because they all will be treated the same. The chain 2 just helps with the increase in the center, but all the stitches will be worked the same. Okay, so we skip the next chain space, and in that center double crochet for our increase on the shell row, all into that same stitch, we're going to place 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. All right, and now your center stitch, you can see that because it forms that little peak. That's the chain 2 space. That's where you place your stitch marker going up. All right, and along this other side again, skip the next chain space, and in the next, work 3 double crochets. Skip the next chain space, and in the last, because you have, remember, your chain 4, that 4th counts as a chain 1 to create your V-stitch with the chain 1 space. Place 5 double crochets, and to fit them all in and to still be able to see your chain 3, you can just slide those over just a bit as needed, okay? If you need to. There's a 5, and then count your chain 3, 1, 2, 3 up to the top. Sometimes that third one can get a little bit tucked down inside. There's 1, 2, 3, and again through that front and back loop of the chain. Place your last, your 6th double crochet. Okay, that completes row 3, and now row 4 is another filet crochet row with the boxes. So we're going to repeat with the chain 4 and turn, double crochet in that same beginning double crochet, chain 1, skip the next double crochet, double crochet in the next, and that is your repeat up to the top center, chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next. And just a little tip, when you get to the end of each shell set, don't accidentally skip over this last double crochet of that set. There's a mistake to be had. That's one of the easy places to do that, and that's going to throw your whole placement off, and you wind up getting up to the top and your placement doesn't land right. Take a look in through here and see in case you accidentally skipped an extra stitch. Okay, so chain 1, you skip the next, and then you double crochet in the next. And again, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next. Okay, chain 1, skip the next double crochet, which takes us to that center chain 1 space, and we are going to repeat what we did in this filet crochet row, which is the double V-stitch with a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet, stitch marker in the center, which is that double crochet, and to finish the other side, go ahead, you do your chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next, and then when you chain 1, skip the next, now you're in pattern along the other side. You double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next, and then the last, which is your chain 3, top of your turning chain 3, go ahead, both the front and back loop, place a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet to get that V-stitch on both ends. But what is going to happen is you will see as your work grows, and you can already see it a little bit here, how the work is curving upward, which usually indicates not enough stitches. However, on the next row after the fillet row, it's going to fill back in and create more fullness, and especially after you do the all double crochet row. That's what's really going to fill that back in. And by doing with the fillet crochet row a little bit more taut, helps keep the center of the shawl as your work grows and grows from becoming over full and creating too much mass there. It just keeps it kind of spread out evenly and more smooth. All right, so last setup row, row 5. I'm going to take us back to the right side of the work. And on row 5, we have one more shell row. Again, chain 3, turn, 5 double crochets in the first chain space. Skip the next, chain space, 3 in the next. Okay, and that's going to be your repeat up to the top. Go ahead and skip the next, 5 double crochet in the next, skip the next, 3 double crochet in the next, which will take you up to your center 3 double crochets with the 2 chains in between, and I will meet you right here with the last set of 3 double crochets. All right, so just see that you're alternating. You have your chain 3 at the end, your increase, then your 5 double crochets, you skip the next box, 3 double crochets in the next, skip a box, 5, skip a box, 3. Okay, and if you're ever in doubt, then as your work grows, you just look back, and it's so easy to see what you've done in every row before. Okay, so I worked my 3, skip the next, and work 5. And also, because this is repetitive, that as your work grows, I would just visually go back after you do a section of it and just kind of glance over and make sure you've done your alternating 5, 3, 5, 3. All right, and here I am already up to the center. So you skip the next box, all right, and we're back to that center double crochet, and that's where you put the set of 6 separated by the 2 chains. All right, so work 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, stitch marker into the center chain 2 space, and then work your repeat across where you skip the next, and you're mirroring again. So if you're not sure, you just look to the other side. Oh yeah, okay, I skip a box, 3 double crochets in the next. Then you skip the next box, 5, skip 3, okay, and I will meet you at that set of 3. You will have 2 chain spaces, 2 boxes left, okay, and I will see you right here. Okay, so now to finish up, we're going to skip the next box, and in that last place 5 double crochets, and for your 6th at the end for our increase end, we're going to work 1 double crochet in the 1, 2, 3 third chain up, otherwise known as the top of your turning chain 3. Yay! And see how that filled back in? It's nice and straight. And now to begin our repeat sequence with row 6. Row 6 is the first of our repeat. This is very easy. And again, you know, if you want, you can place a stitch marker where the repeat begins, and then once you get the whole section, where it begins and ends. So for row 6 is going to be another filet crochet row, just to separate those shell stitches, okay? That's your chain 4 is your double crochet and a chain 1, and you double crochet in that same beginning double crochet to create a little V-stitch, okay? And this is where you chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next, and so on all the way up to the top. I will meet you here in your last double crochet at the top, okay? So you chain 1, skip, double crochet in the next, chain 1, skip the next, double crochet. All right, here I am with my last double crochet. Then we chain 1, skip the next, and place that V-stitch increase in the center chain space, which is a chain 2, okay? Remember, that's your double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So that's a double V-stitch, okay? And again, stitch marker back in that center point. You can see how it creates the center point. Place your stitch marker in there, and finish the other side just like you did on the right with the chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, chain 1, skip, double, all the way down to the end. And I will meet you at the last box and we'll work that together. At the end of row 6 with the 2 double crochets left, chain 1, skip the next, and the last, the top of your turning chain, that counts as your double crochet. In that third chain up, place a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet into the same stitch, okay? So now moving on to row 7. That's going to put us on the right side, and this is our all double crochet row. Gives a little separation between the stitches and adds some nice fullness in there. It's the all double crochet rows and the final border row where I recommend changing colors if you so desire, but of course you create any color combination that you like. It's super easy. Chain 3 and turn, and now in this same beginning and double crochet we're going to place 2 more double crochets, gives you a total of 3 at the end, and now you're going to place 2 double crochets in every chain space, okay? That is it. 2 double crochets in the first chain space, 2 double crochets in the next, 2 in the next, and you continue to do this all the way up and into the first chain 2 space of your center increase. Okay, so you work 2 here. I will meet you in that stitch right there. Okay, here I am already. That one goes very quickly. I'm up to the center, and in this center double crochet, all we're going to do is place 3 double crochets in here now, all into that same center double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Make sure you go through both loops, and then take your stitch marker, and then the center, that middle of the 3 you just made, there goes your stitch marker. And then now on the other side, you go ahead and you just do 2 double crochets again in each chain space. Okay, 2 double crochets in every chain space all the way across, including your last, and I will see you right here. At the end of row 7, the all double crochet row, have completed the 2 double crochet in the last chain 1 space, and in the top of your chain 3, we're going to place 3 double crochets all into the top of your chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Yay. All right. The rest is a repeat of what we've been doing. So for row 8, our 3rd row of our 6 row repeat, we are going to work another filet crochet row. So we're always going to have that separation of the filet crochet row in between every shell row and all double crochet row. Right, so just recapping then with the chain 4, okay, and again the double crochet into that same beginning double crochet, and this is your chain 1, skip the next double crochet in the next. You repeat that all the way up to the top. Okay, that's going to take you to your last set of 2. It'll be right here. You have your center 3. Okay, we'll work that together, and then I'll get you started on the other side. Here I am that quickly up to the center. Now we're going to chain 1, skip the next, which is the double crochet to the right of center, and in the center we're going to work that double V-stitch all into that middle double crochet. With the double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet. And as always, pop that stitch marker back into your center double crochet, and a repeat across with the chain 1, skip the next, double crochet in the next. At the end of row 8, those 2 stitches left, and as always you chain 1, skip the next, and V-stitch in the last, the top of your chain 3 with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and there we go. You can see how the end of that filet row kind of curls up a little bit. That's okay, because it will continue to even out with the next row. Okay, so now for row 9, now it's time to do another shell row. Okay, for row 9, takes us back on the right side. Remember, you do your chain 3 and then your 5 double crochet in the first chain space. And now, as you did before, you will skip the next chain space or box, 3 in the next, skip 5 double crochet, skip 3 double crochet, all the way up to the top, and your last set of 3 should take you into the last chain 1 space right before your double V stitches. So then remember, you skip the next chain space, that chain 2 to the right of center, and you work your increase for the center with the shells. All right, I will go ahead, recap that visually, and meet you right here. All right, I'm up to the top of row 9, the shell row. I finished my last set of 3 in that last chain space before the center. Out with the stitch marker and skipping the next chain space, and with that shell increase, which is your set of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all into that center double crochet, and stitch marker back in, and then now, so again, you skip, you work 3, and then along the other side, skip 5 double crochets, skip 3, skip 5, all the way down to the last 2 boxes where you should have 3 double crochets here. Then remember, you skip the next, you place your 5 double crochets in that last V-stitch, just like you did on the other side. You end with 5, and your 6th, you put in your 3rd chain up at the top of your turning chain. Okay, so now for the last 2, all you're going to do is repeat the filet crochet row and the shell row one more time. In the written pattern, I put down to repeat rows 6 and 9, so that way you know the right placement for that center point, but I mean everything else is worked the same. All right, so you go ahead and repeat your boxes, your filet crochet row and your shell row one more time, which gives you your 2 sets of shell row separated by the filet row in between each. Okay, and as you've done before, you chain 4 and turn, double crochet in the same beginning, double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet in the next, all the way up to the top center, and you work your double V-stitch with the shell. You always have the 2 chains in between the double crochets at the top, and then we'll recap for the shell stitch again. So next up, written pattern, it's a repeat of row 9. Get you started one more time, chain 3 and turn, and then now you work 5 double crochet in the first box, that first chain space, skip the next, 3 in the next, skip the next, 5 in the next, skip 3, all the way up to the top, and again you should land with your last set of 3 double crochets in that chain 1 space before your double V stitches. Okay, and in that center double crochet, that's where you place your shell increase with your 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. That's it. And then again you skip the next box and you work your 3 double crochets here, and again you can always look down to the last row where you work the same stitches to see where they are, and you know where the placement and how many spaces in between and so forth. Okay, let's go ahead and work that to the end. Last box, 5 double crochet with 1 double crochet in your 3rd chain up. Okay, I am back at the end of our last row with the shell row of our 6-row sequence. This stitch marker, the turquoise one, is the one I've been using to mark the center. And now hopefully that's showing up. You can see I placed 2 other stitch markers, and if you have different colors, sometimes it's a little helpful to color code, but I don't think it matters as long as you can see them on the color yarn you're using. And I put these to mark and indicate where the beginning of my repeat rows start. Okay, that's row 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, and then the last 2, which are a repeat of the filet crochet and the shell rows that we just worked. So then I marked that block here, that's that section. Okay, and that's what you do, is you repeat these 6 rows over and over to your desired width, the length, with leaving just a little bit of room to do the final border. Well, my fiber friends, I decided to break this into 2 parts. That way this video won't be overly long, take 2 days to upload. Will give you time to get started and maybe even finish up to this point. Then I'll be back shortly with the 2 very easy border options in a short video to finish up. And if you're watching this after I've already uploaded part 2, you will know that by finding the link in both the comment section and the drop-down description box. And I will also have a link in part 2 back to this video, part 1, just in case you need to refer back to either or at any time for any reason. Please take care, and I hope we'll see each other here in the next video and beyond.